Guys, as I welcome you into another YouTube live show here tonight on the channel, I just have to say, this has been on my mind for a long time, and it was really accentuated this weekend. So I think it's what I need to lead the show with. I am just getting so sick and freaking tired of watching Texas and Oklahoma have to carry the reputation of this conference week in, week out. And we saw it once again this weekend. The only reason anybody knows anything about the Big 12 or thinks the Big 12 is worth anything is because Texas and Oklahoma continue to do the work on the field to provide that for this league. And you know what? I'm just tired of seeing it. So after those performances this weekend, where once again, Texas and Oklahoma were the only good thing happening in the conference, and they are not only subsidizing the league monetarily, but obviously continuing to competitively subsidize this league, I am just tired of it. I'm tired of it. What are the rest of these 8 schools doing in this league anyway? What is anybody doing to uphold the reputation of this sterling conference started by Texas and helped out by Oklahoma? How come nobody else will help them at all? Why is it that Texas and Oklahoma are the only schools in this league that can ever do anything? I am just, frankly, very sick and tired of it. So you know what? I had to get that off my mind and to you guys and put it to you here today to start the show. I'm so sick and tired of watching Oklahoma and Texas always win. They are the only ones in this league who ever win anything of consequence, of substance, and it was proven true once again on Saturday. I'm incredibly tired of it. You know, if somebody else could step up and do something besides Texas and OU once in a while, this league would be a much, much better place. I mean, look at what Oklahoma did this offseason. All right, they got rid of that crappy coach that had a bad attitude, a bad brisket, and a worse defense. And they went and brought in a defensive hero, somebody that certainly would never in his wildest imagination give up 41 points to a team that scored 10 against Tulane last week. And Tulane, by the way, lost to Southern Miss on Saturday. No way in hell that Oklahoma's slam dunk hire. They would not go get a coach that would come in as a defensive guy and give up 41 points to Adrian Martinez and that offense that farted out 10 last week against Tulane. That would never happen, obviously. So we saw Oklahoma roll once again, and it's just getting old and annoying. And Texas, I mean, look, we saw what they did against Alabama. It's the only way that this league has earned any respect this year is that game that Texas played with Alabama, where they were that close. I mean, it was a moral victory. Sark even rung it up in the post-game press conference as a moral victory. You heard that. They just ran out of time. So it basically went down as a win for Texas. And then, of course, the Longhorns went down to Lubbock, where they always win, never lose, and they went in and dominated, right? I mean, it was the same thing that we've always seen from Texas. So if somebody else could just step the hell up instead of Texas and Oklahoma, hang on. Let me check my notes here, guys. Looks like that was actually incorrect. I apologize. My apologies. Texas and Oklahoma are no longer subsidizing the league, at least competitively subsidizing the league, because they both took big fat L's on Saturday. Texas and Oklahoma looking SEC ready, baby, on Saturday. My God, did the Texas Longhorns look great in being a tough, gritty program, able to finish off a difficult road game. Man, if that's not what I've come to know and love from Texas football over the last, 13 years, whoever the guy was that got really incensed the one time that I called it 13 instead of 12. For the last 13 years, that is exactly what we've come to know and love from the Texas Longhorns. Wilting under pressure on the road in a situation where they probably should win the game, and they were not able to close it out. And the Oklahoma Sooners have now lost 4 of their last 6 in Norman to K-State. Little old K-State coming in to take on big, mighty Brent Venables. Big, mighty Brent Venables, the line of Kansas's finest. You know, he moved on to bigger and better things than Kansas and K-State. And boy, did he sure show it in his first opportunity to. You know, the first opportunity to actually play a team with a pulse instead of playing 2 rummies and the worst team in the Big Ten, which has 100 teams in it these days. Oklahoma really, really showed what they were made of and what they had. So what a Saturday, guys. That a nice way to start things? Here tonight? I hope everybody enjoyed the show there, because that's kind of the mode that I've been in since last night. If you had a chance to watch the live show that we were doing for my podcast, where they threw me a headset immediately after the game ended last night. I was definitely on one, as the kids say, and that is continuing here. So we're going to talk about what happened Saturday. We're going to talk about Texas and Oklahoma going down. I know my guy R Webb. He replied on Twitter when I said, "Hey, is it cool if we talk a little Texas Tech and K State here with what the Red Raiders and Wildcats did?" He said, "Hey, hello from your defending Big 12 champion Baylor Bears," and that is a fair point because Baylor had a really nice win on Saturday, going into Ames and really controlling that game. I mean, that should have been a 2 or 3 score win probably for Baylor. Pretty fortuitous hop for Iowa State on that fumble in the end zone that wound up like being not called a touchdown and then getting overturned. I mean, that was a game Baylor probably should have won by more than they did. But still, to go into Ames, a place where they had won 11 straight against Big 12 competition, really strong from Baylor. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State still hanging out. They played 3 basically nobodies because that Arizona State win doesn't seem to mean very much right now with what's going on with that program. So a question that I have to pose to you here today, and I asked a lot of people on Twitter, I mean, who's the Big 12 favorite right now? Who the hell is the Big 12 favorite right now? This league is wide open. Wide, you-know-what, open. We're going to break that down and go through and make case. I mean, you can make a case for damn near everybody in the league right now that they could be the favorite to win this thing. And that is going to make for a wildly entertaining season. I mean, we are set up for a wildly entertaining season of Big 12 football based on how this is unfolded. And we just got the first, really full bore-ish week of conference games this past week. Undefeated week for the Big 12 too, winning the non-conference games that you had also with Duke and TCU getting wins. So we'll break all of that down, get into all those games. Even West Virginia going back to Thursday night picks up a nice out-of-conference win for the league. So yeah, that's the other one. I forget about that because it came on Thursday. But we'll also talk about that. Kansas got left out of the top 25, and that seems to be that's a case that's taken on a lot of national attention right now. People really sticking up for the Jayhawks there, getting left out of the top 25. So we'll break that down. They deserve to be in there. I got a little bit for you on the 4 incoming schools. Houston, Cincinnati looked real nice. UCF, BYU, and then we've got a little bit on the realignment front. Okay. This will probably be the most football heavy show that we've had so far this year in the season based on all the action that happened. And the story that I have on conference realignment is a little more speculative, but it's a theory that's out there in Pac-12 country that does not look very good for George Kliavkoff at all. Frankly, when I saw that and I saw John Wilner actually give breath to it, speak to it, that is something that at least has been considered. It's like, what is George doing? It's not kicking what. It is the opposite. So how Kliavkoff may be kind of bombing his own conference from the inside with what he did by writing that letter to the UC Board of Regents. That's the outline that I have. As always, you guys can control a lot of the content here, and you can do so by donating like a lot of people already have. Click the $ below the chat box where it says say something. That is how you donate to the channel here today. And not only get your question or comment on the chat, cut through all the noise. We've already got almost 250 people here in the chat. So it's hard for me to see very much of it at all. But if you donate and attach that to it, it tacks it up at the top for me so that I can see it. And you will get your question or comment read. Also, it's just a way to support this channel and continue to get Big 12 content week in and week out. And I sincerely appreciate all of you guys who do donate. Another thing that you can do, totally free, just go like the video right now. If you could go just make one click for me, like the video. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm as well. And that is one thing you can do to support the channel. And if you're not watching this live, if you're not catching it live and you're watching it back tape and you want to support the channel, hit me up on Venmo. It's just John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you'd like to do that. So that is what we have today. Off and running with the sarcasm. Here we go. Browns and Beers. Browns and Beers says, horns down forever, John. You're not wrong about that. You are not wrong about that. By the way, shout out to the Tech fan who made a GIF of me that they busted out on Twitter this weekend of me doing the guns up. And hell yeah, Texas Tech. Hell yeah for that, man. Hell yeah for getting that win over Texas. Not just winning, but the way that happened. That was a gritty, gutsy win for Texas Tech. Donovan Smith making all sorts of plays on 4th down. Joey McGuire going total riverboat Ron. Every single fourth down, it seemed like he was going for in that game, and made enough plays to win that game. So, yes, shout out to Texas Tech for that. And you know that I'm here for the horns down all the time. I see Ron. Ron, I see that because it's right under the donation. How's the hangover? I actually do not drink right now. I don't drink. So everything that you saw on Twitter, everything that you saw on the live stream last night, like that's all me. That's totally sober, stone cold sober. Not all the people I was with, and I did have a very fun night, but I did so sober. Calico Willie, what's up, Calico Willie? Calico Willie, thank you for the donation. He says 10:34 p.m. Saturday will forever be changed to 9 a.m. EMA. Let's get Tech. Yes, man. Adrian Martinez, my guy. I realize the irony in that because the frustration of this season to that point, the frustration of the Tulane game had been Adrian Martinez. He looked, I'm telling you, if that was your guys' first chance to watch him this year, that's not what Adrian Martinez looked like through the first 3 weeks of the season for K-State. That was a different dude. And that was a guy who played at Nebraska minus the turnovers. Adrian Martinez, who had 46 turnovers in 4 years at Nebraska, has 0 so far through 4 games at K-State, including during that 5-touchdown performance against the Sooners. It was unreal. So happy for him on a personal level, for a guy that's been through so much and is just a really stand-up individual. I mean, man, we had him on for the podcast during the offseason, and he was just tremendous, just like a really high-character kid, and took a lot of crap at Nebraska and was starting to take some at K-State with the loss to Tulane and how he played the first 3 weeks of the season, and he comes through with just an epic game against the Sooners to put K-State right back in the thick of the Big 12 race, just like basically everybody, but absolutely did get him back in the thick of the Big 12 race with that performance. So I tell you what, I mean, that 3rd and 16 run, I don't know, the guys at KCSN who do my podcast, they were taking footage of like the crowd during some big moments of the game. I don't know if they've got footage of me, but if they do somewhere, it would be embarrassing. I mean, I was running around hugging people after 3rd and 16 at good old Tanner's at Aggieville. Man, that was insane. That run from Adrian Martinez is one of my favorite K-State plays in a long, long time. And I've watched it about 50 times already today. Great stuff. Matthew, what's up, Matthew? Matthew, one of our resident Tech fans here. Proud card-carrying member of the Cacti Mafia, says Texas Tech greater than Texas football, baseball, and basketball. Boy, you guys are on a heater right now. I tell you what, Tech fans, Texas Tech in general, on an absolute heater right now and just taking it to Texas. And I love it, man. I love it because, you know, you can just tell how much it's getting to these guys. I think it was Anwar Richardson that I saw earlier this week from Orange Bloods. I hope I don't have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was him on Twitter. It was one of the Texas writers who basically said something to the effect of during the week, like, hey, if this is the last trip to Lubbock for Texas, like, so be it. Good riddance. Like, that was in essence the message there. You know that they don't like you guys. Tech fans have done just an incredible job of getting under Texas fans' skin over the last year, and then the teams are delivering on the court, on the field, whatever as well. I can't imagine what a high that's been for Texas Tech fans to continue to do that to Texas. Man, great stuff. And you guys know, like, I see the similarities between K-State and Tech there, and a chip on your shoulder all the time. You know I feel good to watch you guys do that to Texas, especially on the same day when we do that to Oklahoma. So hell of a night for us. Oh boy, I see somebody in there. Cyphus Juk says, don't worry, OU will win the Big 12. Count on it. Okay. All right. Calling your shot right now. We'll see. Brent Venables might want to learn a thing or two about defense before he does that. Might want to learn a thing or two about defense. Boom to the Sooner. You know I'm not going to be mean to you. I appreciate you. Always in good spirits here in the chat. Always here supporting. So I'm not going to go in too hard on you at all. But Boom to the Sooner, thank you for the donation. Says, congrats on the win. The OU defense looked like it was playing whack-a-mole all night. Got to go to the SEC to avoid those pesky Wildcats. You're right. I mean, it is crazy. Like, I won't even sit here and tell. I mean, look, I understand what K-State is as a program, and the fact that Oklahoma's lost 9 home games in the last, like, 10 years. I forget what the stat was. Of the last 9 home losses that Oklahoma has had, 4 of them have come at the hands of K-State. K-State's won 4 of the last 6 games in Norman, going back to 2012. Like, that is That is an insane stat. Chris Kleiman has beaten Oklahoma 3 of the 4 times he has played them. That is crazy. And there has to be something more to it other than just Oklahoma overlooking an opponent. Like, at what point does it become just a thing? I mean, I don't know. We're now going through 2 coaches. I mean, honestly, my whole point here that I feel vindicated for my offseason battles with Oklahoma fans about that I think this program was going to take a bit of a step back with Brent Venables. I feel very vindicated in that, but at the same time, it is a little hard for me to make that point when at the same time, K-State was kicking OU's you-know-what when Lincoln Riley was there beforehand anyway. So maybe not. It could just be the same program. It doesn't really matter. You just lose to K-State. That's what you do, Oklahoma. That's what you were put on this earth to do. So I thank you for it. I appreciate you for it a lot. But I feel for you, Boom to the Sooner. I am not taking any personal joy in your loss there. So thank you for the kind words there. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach, thank you for the donation. Zach says, don't let all this Kansas news distract you from the fact that Cincy murdered Indiana yesterday and are about to body slam the entire AAC. Go Bearcats. I feel like I owe Cincinnati fans a bit of an apology because I know when you guys asked me before the season what I thought about the AAC and the 4 new schools, I was on the Houston bandwagon. I was with a lot of people on the Houston bandwagon. Man, I mean, I didn't watch any of the game, but I saw the score. Houston just barely surviving Rice on Saturday. I hope Dana keeps that thing together and it doesn't turn into a rough year, because that, I was like, man, you lose that game and it being like a rivalry game there in the same city and to a school that you frankly should be beating basically every single year. I was worried there. I was really worried. So I'm glad Houston pulled it out, and I'm willing to look. Dana kept it together last year after the rocky start and obviously had a tremendous season, but Cincinnati does look to me like the class of that league right now. And Indiana, again, say what you will about Indiana, but they were 3-0. That's a 3-0 confident Power 5 football team coming in, and Cincinnati just pounded them on Saturday. So Cincinnati does look really good. It's a great point. I am happy to eat a little bit of crow there. I like seeing Cincinnati have success. I also like seeing Houston have success, but I certainly have a rooting interest there to see the Bearcats continue to succeed. So congratulations on that win. I know for Cincinnati, like getting to play a Power 5 school, particularly an unbeaten one, even if it is Indiana, there's always going to be a little bit of extra juice there. So good on the Bearcats. Good on the Bearcats for getting that done. Matthew, once again, Matthew says, we'll miss the Texas game. The atmosphere was electric. Certainly seemed like it. Obviously, the field storming was a whole thing in and of itself. Tech winning for the first time since 2008 in Lubbock against Texas. Of course, we remember the Michael Crabtree game. But there was so much that was happening there on that field storm. I saw the video of what's the Barstool guy, and I'm not a big Barstool fan, but Dana Beers or whatever. He ran out there and immediately runs up to the Texas cheer squad and gives them a horns down. That was a pretty funny video. The still image, the picture that somebody got of them giving horns down to a Texas player and the Texas player giving them the middle finger at the same time back, like that was great. What's not so great is the video that's out there of the Tech student that comes up and shoves a Texas player. That's bad. We don't need that at all. As a K-State fan, we experienced that during one of the court stormings against Kansas in basketball. The infamous, if K-State fans are out there, Nathan Power chicken wing incident. There was like a little chicken wing that was given to, I believe that was Jamari Traylor of the Kansas Jayhawks back then. So yeah, you don't want to be going down that road. That is certainly playing with fire. So yes, let's be easy on that. But other than that, it looked like an absolutely electric atmosphere. I can't imagine the ups and downs emotionally of that game if you're Texas Tech. Falling behind by a couple of scores, coming all the way back. Some of those 4th down conversions, I mean, like just the cojones, man, on Joey McGuire to continue going forward on 4th down, even after getting stuffed at the goal line on that 4th down. And then on the eventual field goal drive where they thought they had the game won first, there's the 4th down play where Donovan Smith just buys time until he can make something happen. That guy, speaking of cojones, that guy's got some cojones to make those plays. And then Texas gets the big hitter. They score. They get the field goal. You're going to overtime. You're thinking, oh, man, is this a couple of years ago all over again? I was really at that point. I'm in the middle of trying to do my live pregame show, but also keeping an eye on that. And like my stomach dropped when I saw that. Like, oh, please no! Like Texas Tech fans, like I love you guys. I don't want this to happen to you. And then, how sweet is it that you battle through to win the game, and you battle through and win the game with Bijan coughing it up? I mean, that's Captain Lambeau right there, just coughing the pill up and giving the game away. Captain Lambeau put the ball on the ground and allowed you basically a free ride to just go win the game there on the field goal to get it done. So congratulations, Texas Tech fans. I can't even imagine how sweet that was for you guys, as sweet as it was for me on Saturday to watch K-State beat Oklahoma, to have not beaten Texas in Lubbock for the 14 years, and then to go get it done and get it done with all those ups and downs, the release of emotion after that game. I just can't even imagine. So good stuff. Good stuff. Speaking of, Matt, thank you for the donation. Matt says, is Joey McGuire awakening the sleeping giant that is Texas Tech football? Always thought Texas Tech has all the elements to be a powerhouse. Well, I think Joey McGuire is bringing one thing. I was texting with somebody, another media, I'll say a media type within the Big 12 just earlier this afternoon. And this is not, I'm not trying to say like it's somewhat, it's just a friend of mine from the industry that covers another Big 12 team. And we were talking about Joey McGuire and just like the attitude and swagger that he brings to Texas Tech. I framed it a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was even last week with the NC State game, as just like toughness. Texas Tech seems to have a lot more toughness than they used to. And that seems to be one palpable, noticeable thing that Joey McGuire has brought to the program, but just more grit and edge, excitement. And I think that shined through in the play calling, going forward on all those fourth downs, like trusting in your players to make those plays. I love seeing that out of Texas Tech, and I think they really needed it. I mean, let's be honest, like Matt Wells was just kind of a milquetoast guy, just pretty bland. And Texas Tech needed some personality. They needed an edge, and McGuire has definitely brought that. And we know he's brought the recruiting. We've already seen that. I think there's a lot to like there. There's a lot to like there. Joey McGuire has not even had a chance to get in this heralded recruiting class that he's putting together right now that at one point was number one in the country. Like, Texas Tech, there's every reason to be very optimistic about it right now. The only thing I would quibble with there is like powerhouse. It's just, what is the definition of a powerhouse in the new world of college football if you're not in the Big Ten or the SEC? That's the only thing I would say, like, we would have to discuss that. What does it look like, or what does it mean to be a powerhouse if you're not in one of the big two conferences? But other than that, can't argue that I think they're headed very much in the right direction. Joe. What's up, Joe? Joe, I appreciate the donation, and I appreciate your consistency here in this message, because I know you've sent me this before. I know you've said this before, and you appear to, at least right now, still be in the running to have this be correct. It says, John, I keep telling you it will be Oklahoma State and K-State in Dallas in early December. I would love it, man. I would absolutely love it. Would definitely love that matchup. Would love going up against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's an interesting team right now when we talk about how wide open the Big 12 is, because just kind of lurking there at 3-0, had the week off this week to watch all the craziness happen without actually playing a game. Arizona State seemed like a pretty nice win, and still is probably a little more valuable at that point in the season before it totally came off the rails for Arizona State. But I don't know. Now we're hearing about assistant coaches or people on staff leaking info to opponent coaching staffs trying to get Herm fired. They did get Herm fired. They lost to Eastern Michigan. So I don't know. It's tough to know exactly what to make of Oklahoma State based on their level of competition so far this year. I'm very interested to start finding out about the Cowboys. But you are right, Joe. You are right. I should have kept a little more faith in my Cats. I should have kept a little more faith in my Cats. R-Web, what's up, R-Web? Thanks for the donation. R-Web, I promise you we're going to talk some Baylor, Iowa State, because you requested it on Twitter, and you're right. Should not be glossed over. Great win to go into Ames and take down Iowa State and really control them, keep them at arm's length like Baylor did. Our web says there's no off week in the Big 12. Bizzo. Yeah, you're right. There is sure as hell no off week in this league. Anybody seeing one right now? I mean, West Virginia, I think most people would have said going into the week was the weak link in the league, and it had the worst start, lost that game to Kansas already, blew the game against Pitt, and then what does West Virginia go out and do on Thursday night? West Virginia picks up a nice out-of-conference win for the league. I mean, Virginia Tech may not be very good, but that's still Lane Stadium. That's still a difficult place to play. It's still a Power 5 opponent, and they won 33-10. I mean, that wasn't like they squeaked out a 1-point win. West Virginia went out there and exerted their will on a Power 5 opponent on the road in what is known as one of the better environments in college football. And if that is like, if West Virginia truly is the bottom of the barrel in the league, this is a pretty tough league, man. This is a pretty tough league with a lot of depth because West Virginia is not a slouch. They've got this Donaldson kid, CJ Donaldson, converted tight end, playing running back. He rips off 100 again, like starting to look better. Defense making some strides after they gave up. It was 73 combined points the first 2 weeks to Pitt and Kansas. So, hey, maybe Neil Brown is putting things back together. I certainly was still – I don't love having to go to Morgantown. I don't love that at all. That is still a game that makes me very nervous thinking about it from a K-State standpoint. And I would think it probably should for most people on the schedule the rest of the year. And that is why we're just in for such a damn fun ride, I think, with this Big 12 football season, people. Matthew says, Joey McGuire, huge huevos. I just lost it. It jumped ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get caught up on all the donations here, guys. Joey McGuire, huge huevos, 6 of 8 on 4th down. Thank you for that stat, because I watched like a 20-minute cut up of the game today. I saw bits and pieces live, and then I watched a 20-minute continuous cut up today. And when it got to the last one that they converted, and I heard, who was it that was doing play-by-play? Anyway, I heard the play-by-play broadcaster say that it was the 8th attempt, and I was like, they have to have like all but one so far. I was like, I feel like they've converted damn near every single one of these except for the one down on the goal line, which then turned into a 3-and-out, which was a nice play by the Tech defense. And again, the type of thing that I don't think we see in the past from Texas Tech, the defense, standing tall in a spot like that. So, yeah, big huevos. Big huevos. Aglist. What's up, Aglist? Thank you for the donation. Aglist says, John, I told you so last week. KU and K-State in the Big 12 title game. Oh, there we go. We've got K-State, Oklahoma State. We've got KU, K-State. I'm down for whatever. As long as it includes the Cats, I'm down for whatever. Cats dealt with OU, and KU will beat Texas. Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. Allen. Hey, Allen, you've got every reason to be really fired up about your Hawks, man. And I say that in the same breath as I would also tell you, that to me was, other than Tennessee Tech, if you set aside Tennessee Tech because they're a bad FCS team, whatever, that was to me the least impressive performance of the season for Kansas. I don't think Duke is good at all. They're 3-0. They have a win over Northwestern. Northwestern's also lost to Miami, Ohio, and Southern Illinois in back-to-back weeks, and is 1-3. Their only win over Nebraska, of course. But long story short, I don't think Duke is any good. And I thought KU probably should have won that game by 3 scores, especially the way that their offense is playing right now. But Jalen Daniels is still a beast, and that's really the biggest reason, for major optimism for Kansas. When you've got a quarterback playing that well, that ceiling is awfully high. And so, that again didn't impress me a ton, but it's the accumulation of it now. I mean, you're 4-0, and if we're framing the conversation as like, I was disappointed by seeing Kansas only beat an undefeated Power 5 opponent by 1 touchdown at home, then that shows you how far Kansas has come in a very short period of time. That was my takeaway from the game. I was expecting them to run away with it a little bit more. So, hey, Aglis is trending toward a very entertaining Sunflower Showdown in Manhattan, which we're going to have to wait all the way until right before or right after Thanksgiving. It'll be that final week of the regular season after Thanksgiving to get that game actually in. Browns and Beers. What's up, Browns and Beers? Thank you for the donation, my friend. Browns and Beers says, to the new Big 12 overall, doing Ames as my Big 12 trip this year. If you have any, if you or any ISU fans have any recommendations, go Ears, screw Virginia Tech. All right, Browns and Beers, got a nice win for your Mountaineers. Very excited for you on that front. Happy to see that. Going to Ames, I know you guys, and especially right now, the Iowa State Twitter is not very happy with me because, again, we've been roped into a Matt Campbell conversation. But I enjoy Ames quite a bit. The best trip that I've had there, because most of the time when I would go cover games there, so I've covered probably 5 or 6, it was always, we'd have to go stay in like Ankeny and then drive in, and it seemed like they were always 11 a.m. kickoff. So I didn't really have time to explore much. It was like just get there at the crack of dawn and then leave after the game. But when I was there for Big 12 track this past year, I got to go to, so I would say people call it Cafe B, but it's like Cafe Baudelaire or something like that. Spelled kind of like, is that like French? I don't know. Look that up and hit me up on Twitter at JL Kurtz if you want the specific name, if you're having trouble finding it. I enjoyed the heck out of that place. I loved it. There's also a place just called like the Cafe, I believe. That was a breakfast spot that all the locals told me to go to. That was delicious. That was very good. And I know like it's like the stereotypical thing to do, but everyone will tell you to go to Hickory Park for barbecue. I've never actually been there in Ames, but that is like the famous food place there. So that's what I would say. Maybe someone else in the chat can help you out, but that's what I got. Hey, they hate me. Let me correct you on something here. I know this is back a while ago. Didn't pay for this. They hate me says K-State still lost to Tulane and is not ranked. Incorrect, my friend. Incorrect. Go check your AP poll. Go pull the AP poll out of your backpack. Get your homework out of your backpack and get your head in the books, my friend, because the 25th ranked team in the land this week is none other than the Kansas State Wildcats. Okay? So that is incorrect. Get that malarkey off my channel, please. Thank you. Mods, if we could take care of that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, you guys. You're doing a great job. Christian, thank you for the donation. Christian says, do you think Kansas was snubbed or is it just too early for them to be ranked? Go Cougs. Okay, that is one of the hot topics this week in the Big 12. Should Kansas be ranked? They were in the AP poll 26th. Well, K-State was 25th. I mean, I did have to crack a wry smile at that, right? You know, there's all this attention about Kansas, and K-State puts out one of the worst games it's played in years against Tulane, and then just comes right back and snatches the top 25 ranking right back away from Little Bro. But, you know, Kansas probably should be ranked. I will say this. I think the outrage has gone too far on the other side. I mean, I saw Danny Cannell out there tweeting that KU should be in the top 15 based on their resume right now. I mean, let's pump the brakes here. The point everybody is making is that if Kansas were an SEC team or a Big Ten team with that resume, they would be ranked. Do I agree with that? I do agree with that. I think that is absolutely true. I think some of it is about Kansas and just the stench that they've carried for 15 years now. I think it is also about, the fact that they're not from a glamour conference. I think both of those things play into it a little bit. But I think Kansas has the resume of a team that should be in the 20 to 25 range. I don't think it's a top 15 resume. I mean, look, I hope Houston gets it turned around, but that does not, again, that's a team that almost lost to Rice on Sunday. That's not a team that looks like they're lighting the world on fire right now. They are 2-2. Like I said, I think Duke is not good. West Virginia rebounding a little bit, 2-2. I think that, I mean, to me, that still is the most impressive win that Kansas has so far this season, is going and beating West Virginia the way that they did on the road. So, it's fine. That's a very solid resume for right now. And I think if you're in a Power 5 conference and you go through and do that and you start 4-0, certainly I welcome you into the 20 to 25 range of the top 25. That's not a top 15 resume. These are teams that are all very flawed. I don't know. How many bowl teams has Kansas played so far? I guess I would frame the discussion that way too. How many bowl teams has Kansas played so far in its schedule? Houston's probably going to make a bowl. So I'd say 1 and the possibility for West Virginia to be 2, but just squeaking in there. So look, Kansas is going to be fine. I think they're definitely going to a bowl based on what we've seen so far. I mean, I saw the line open up at like Iowa State -2 this week for that game in Lawrence. So they're going to be right there, according to Vegas, in their game this weekend. They'll be fine. And if they take care of business, it's not going to mean it. They've got Iowa State and TCU back-to-back coming up here. Like, these are winnable games for Kansas. It'll take care of itself. So I don't think it's some outrage or travesty or whatever. I understand everybody's picking this hill to die on because if you're not involved in the rivalry like I am, you look at Kansas and you think, man, that's been a real poverty football program for a long time. Let's give them a boost here when they're having a nice season. So I understand why it is that everybody's kind of making that point. But I think it's been just a little bit overdone. A little bit overdone at this point. Boom to the Sooner. What's up, Boom to the Sooner? Boom to the Sooner says, do the Sooners drop another game or two, or was it just the K-State curse and nothing more? I think there's the truth, as typically is the case, falls somewhere in the middle here. I think some of it was absolutely about K-State. There is no doubt about that. And it's that, I mean, Adrian Martinez all of a sudden played like a rock star, and he had been non-existent for the first 3 games of the year. It's not something that you really could have counted on at all going into the game. So yes, and Adrian Martinez, He said it after the game. I don't think it's really that arguable. It was the best game of his career, and that's a guy that's played 5 years of college football. So that certainly plays a role. That certainly plays a factor in the game, and that probably is not going to happen every single week that Adrian Martinez gives you, 5 touchdowns and plays the way that he did. But at the same time, there is still some of that is on Oklahoma, and for Oklahoma's defense to get gouged the way that they did pretty consistently there throughout the game and let K-State just control the tempo of the game, that's what really surprised me. I was not surprised by the offense, although that is another point here that I would submit to you, Boom to the Sooner, is where I would have some cause for pause if I were Oklahoma right now. I would have some cause for concern. That's the offense. Like, Dillon Gabriel is a good quarterback to bordering on very good maybe, but he's not Caleb Williams. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not like an elite quarterback. He's not Baker Mayfield. He's not one of these guys that Oklahoma's been rolling out there. And this is what I said all offseason. Oklahoma fans, a lot of paper trail on this, a lot of tweets on this, a lot of airtime on this show about this. I said, look, it boils down like this to me. You are going from Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley to Jeff Lebby and Dillon Gabriel. I think Jeff Lebby and Dillon Gabriel are still both very good. I would certainly take them at my school. But when you hold them up to Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley and all the quarterbacks that Lincoln brought in, you're just losing some edge there. You're losing some freaking edge there. So I'm sorry, but there's going to be a bit of a drop-off. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think and K-State kind of lulled you to sleep with the Tulane loss, right? So there's the motivation factor that's in there. I also think K-State is pretty good. And I made the case to you guys, as many national media members did this offseason, like K-State could be a dark horse contender for the Big 12 championship. Like, there is some high-end talent on that roster. There's a reason that K-State had more first-team All-Big 12 preseason selections than anybody else in the conference. There's some legitimate high-end talent on that roster. And if Adrian Martinez gives you a game like he did, in part because the Oklahoma defense didn't bring it, and in part because K-State's defense is pretty good, and in part because Oklahoma's offense is not as elite as it was, I would say it's just somewhere in between. So, yes, I very much think Oklahoma could drop another game or two because, again, you can't let up at all. I mean, if the defense slouches again at some point the rest of the year on the schedule, like, they absolutely can get beat. So, yeah, I'd be a little concerned if I were you, but I don't think it's like end of the world, sky is falling necessarily. I don't think really any loss this year to anybody in the league, I don't think you're going to look at and say like, oh, man, just a terrible loss. That means we're terrible. We lost to this awful team. That's just not going to be the case in this league this year. All Blue 12. What's up, All Blue 12? All Blue 12 says, congrats, Cats and Texas Tech. Congrats to the Cactus. Good send-off to OU and UT. Future 6-6 seasons, if that, and no dwarf Super Bowls. Now time for Pack implosion. Wilner thumping chest with 4 Pack in top 15 for the first time ever. Go Cougs. Well, thank you, All Blue, covering a lot of ground there. Yes, I did see that tweet from John Wilner, 4 teams in the top 15 for the Pac-12. And look, I won't take anything away from the Pac-12 on that front. They should tout that. They should be very happy with that. Oregon found a way somehow. That was a crazy end to that game against Washington State. They found a way to win, and that was huge for the conference. And they're kind of doing this redemption tour thing once again, where they may be able to play their way back sort of into the discussion, even though, I don't know, when it comes down to it, that the way they got beat by Georgia may be a little bit difficult to overcome. But either way, they deserve that. But the Pac-12 implosion still very well could be coming. And I'm going to save it until probably cover about 10 more minutes here of football talk and get through the rest of the donations that I have, All Blue 12. But I'm going to read you the theory that was being put out there first by Ralph Russo of the Associated Press, and then John Wilner kind of backed it up, although he doesn't think it's going to happen, like at least felt it legitimate enough to respond to. And it was a theory of how Kliavkoff can actually really be blowing up the conference unintentionally with that letter that he wrote to the UC Board of Regents. So thank you for the congratulations on the win. Certainly Texas Tech fans, I would imagine I speak for them as well in saying thank you for the love there. And yes, go Cougs, go BYU. I know you guys have a tough schedule the rest of the way too, and we're going to be pulling certainly for your Cougs. Daniel, thank you for the donation. Far too kind, Daniel. Really, really generous. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that a lot. Your support definitely means a lot. Says it's a great day to be a Wildcat in Nebraska. Ooh, you're in Nebraska. Yeah. Nebraska fans found a way to take an L even without playing on Saturday. Didn't play, but they got to watch Adrian Martinez play the best game of his career and go win a monster game and win the type of game that Nebraska fans were just hoping that he would win his entire career. Daniel says, what are the Cats' chances against Texas? I'm asking because my daughter has yet to see the football team lose. Will we be eating Bevo burgers? Ooh, I'm trying to remember when that game is in the schedule. Let me look that up here real quick. I mean, the long and short of it is, yes, they absolutely can beat Texas. Texas, again, has proven to me incapable of being the team that is just going to put everything behind them and grind out the wins that they, these gritty, tough road wins they need to do in the Big 12. That even after they impressed me with UTSA, and I thought maybe this is it. That's an impressive win. Still without Quinn Ewers. They've got to beat up Hudson Card going out there. And then, no, Texas Tech comes out and beats them. Texas Tech coach with Texas Tech team with a first-year head coach that was picked next to last in the league, and Texas can't go win that game on the road. So they absolutely can win the game. The problem is, like, Texas has been, as much as I hate to admit it, has been a thorn in the side of K-State. The last win was 2016 for K-State over Texas Tech, or over Texas, rather. So it's been a minute. And so the history, I can't really say much about that. Last year, there was not a good Texas team at all, and K-State tripped all over themselves in Austin and threw a game away that they should have won. That game is going to be November 5th, so fairly late in the year. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what Texas is by that point in the season. Is that going to be like that? Are they going to have 3-4 losses and be like, whatever, another 7-5 season? We don't care. I always think that's a big part of the calculus too. Like when you're playing Texas can be a big factor there. So I'm a little leery just because of the recent series history. And for Kleiman, it's really been like Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas, and to a slightly lesser extent, Iowa State that have given him the most trouble in the league. And so obviously Texas has been in that group. And even when K-State jumped up, they jumped out 14-0 in Austin a couple of years ago. Kleiman's first year, I guess that was in 2019, and still couldn't win the game. So I hope so. I'm optimistic, Daniel, but I'm also leery because I have to look in the mirror and say K-State has not fared very well, even though that's been a very, very gettable Texas program here over the last 6 years since 2016. So enjoy being a cat in Nebraska. Enjoy talking with all your Nebraska neighbors, coworkers, whoever, about how great it was to watch Adrian Martinez balling out for the Cats on Saturday and knocking off the Oklahoma Sooners. So thank you again, Daniel, for the donation. Far too kind, far too generous. Much, much, much appreciated. Thank you for being here, and go Cats, my friend. Dusty, what's up, Dusty? Dusty says, why is the Big 12 the only major Power 5 conference that doesn't have a TV network? Basically, the Longhorn Network serves as your Big 12 network. That was conference realignment last time around, like 2010, 2011, conference realignment. Texas, a part of the deal with them staying in the league was that the Big 12 would allow them to take all their third-party TV rights and create the Longhorn Network, and that is basically it right there. That's why. So when you hear people talk about like Texas being a problem, Texas was such a problem to work with. It's all true, by the way. It's things like that. You have one school getting their own network instead of a conference network. Although in the end, the Big Ten network kind of works. The SEC network, kind of works. But everything else, the ACC network, the Pac-12 network was a disaster. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world that the Big 12 doesn't have a total network like that. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Pac-12 now, especially if they go the way of Amazon, which is where everything's trending right now, how that's going to work in terms of, do they have some content hub for programming like that within Amazon? Does the Pac-12 network still exist? Like how does that go? Christian, what's up, Christian? Christian says, true or false, Texas Tech doesn't win without Lubbock Guesthouse. I think that's absolutely true, Christian. I think that's absolutely true. I had someone asking me about Lubbock Guesthouse earlier today, actually. No, Texas Tech does not win without Lubbock Guesthouse. And if you're ever going to Lubbock, Texas, you need a place to stay at LubbockGuesthouse.com. Free advertising there, LubbockGuesthouse.com. That's what you need to do. So I hope the Lubbock Guesthouse was freaking rocking on Saturday, man. It'll be a great little weekend. You get up there for the game. You have a little post game party after knocking off Texas. That has to be pretty fun. Pretty fun. Okay, man. I still have a lot to get caught up on here, guys. Sorry. Scrolling through, you guys have been really lively and generous. Appreciate that. I think that's evidenced by, or just a byproduct of the football that we had this weekend and how things are really heating up here. And man, I'm geeking out. It's going to be a really fun season. Provo Cougar fan, what's up, Provo Cougar fan? Says BYU 38, Wyoming 10, the refs 14. In-state rival Utah State Thursday night at 6 Mountain, 7 Central. Ooh, okay. All right, I didn't realize that's what was coming up next. And hey, Wyoming was coming off a pretty nice win. Wyoming had just beat Air Force. I saw some of that game just the other day, which Air Force, I was thought of as a pretty good program. They absolutely gobsmacked Colorado earlier this year. So anyway, taking care of business for BYU. That's all that matters. And Utah State, another rivalry game. I'll be excited to watch that. I like the fact that is Thursday. So, being standalone there, that'll give me a better opportunity to watch some of that. So here for it, Provo Cougar fan, pulling for you guys. Hey, that Arkansas game maybe looks a little bit more winnable now, which I guess for a while there, you're thinking you'd rather everybody be great, Notre Dame be great, Arkansas be great, Oregon be great, and go rip through this to get to the playoff. I don't know if that's on the table anymore, but I think you guys can. I think you guys can beat Arkansas. I think that game is winnable for sure. So anyway, congrats on the win. Good luck on Thursday, and I'll be watching. Take in some BYU football. R Web, what's up, R Web? R Web says they have great water in Ames. Hooray! The only reason I actually know about that is because of the Yahoo College Football podcast. But they would always make fun of that. I got some like old Ames water commercial. I didn't even totally understand the inside joke for a while. It took me a minute to get it until they broke it down and like explained it one time. But yeah, that's a high level Ames reference. That's a high level Ames reference there from R Web. Really just a high level Big 12 reference. That's how you know R Web is ingrained in the Big 12 here. And you know what, R Web, I'm gonna dip in a little more Baylor talk here, just for you. So low key, pretty big win for Baylor, and it gets overshadowed because there was a massive upset of Oklahoma, obviously, right, from K-State, and then Texas was just such a thrilling game back and forth, and Iowa State Baylor. I mean, I watched a good part of that game, just fairly, I don't want to say boring, but I guess relatively speaking, compared to Texas Tech. You guys know what I'm saying. The Texas Tech game, and then K-State Oklahoma, probably a little bit in that realm. But just, you're going into a place like Iowa State. We have our differences, but that is not an easy place to win. 11 straight Big 12 opponents had gone down there and lost. That's not a place Iowa State's losing very often. They were confident. If they would have won, they would have been 4-0 for the first time since 2000. They obviously got the Iowa monkey off of their back. And Blake Shapen, who at times I think has taken some arrows this year, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought just showed some real poise in a tough environment in leading his team to the win there. So I don't know, man. You look at this now, and especially the Iowa State offense continues to be an issue. They threw a couple picks, had 4 sacks, 2.4 yards per carry, but a lot of that's the Baylor defense, and in particular up front. We knew Baylor would be good in the trenches. Baylor may still be the answer. If we're talking about who is the Big 12 favorite, maybe Baylor is still the answer. If you're going to say Oklahoma State is too untested for my blood at this point with the 3 games that they've played so far this year, maybe you say, look, a double overtime loss at BYU and then this road win at Iowa State, like Baylor should be, as the defending champs, still held up in that regard. It was a non-conference loss. It was a tough place to play. It was a good team, and it was in 2 overtimes, breaking in a first-year full-time starter in Blake Shapen. I could buy that argument, and I would probably actually default to that just because I had Baylor at the beginning of the year. I have felt most strongly about them throughout much of the season, and they didn't do anything on Saturday to dissuade me from that, certainly, by going and grinding out that win, and which, again, I would tell you should have been probably a 2 or 3 possession win for Baylor based on, I feel like the score was closer than the game actually was there. Baylor really grabbed hold of that thing in the second half. So much love to your Bears. Calico Willie, what's up, Calico Willie? Thank you for the donation, my friend. Calico Willie says, I felt good and nostalgic before the OU game last night and put on my Jared Cooper number 40 jersey for the game in respect to a new heavy hitter, Jay Hayes. Man, the Jared Cooper reference. I love that. That is old school K-State. That is 1998 to 2000 era K-State when the Cats had the best teams they ever had under Bill Snyder and were winning 11 games every year. Jared Cooper was a hitter, man, had a nice NFL career too. So I love that, Calico Willie. Also, I hope you know this, Calico Willie. One of my favorite K-State player stories of all time is about Jared Cooper. He was a wild dude, wild dude. And he had a giant like python, like huge python as a pet. And one day it turned on him and tried to choke him to death. And he had to kill it with a knife from the kitchen, which was just a wild story. He also, I believe, got hit by a car while at a telephone booth one time. And anyway, crazy Jared Cooper stories. I could go off on a tangent about that, but I'll spare everybody. But there's that for you, Calico Willie. Alpha Cat, thank you for the donation, Alpha Cat. Alpha Cat says, just got on, but I love that incoming Big 12 teams went 4-0, and those that are leaving or left went 1-4. That's a great stat. I had not seen it laid out like that, but that is a great stat, Alpha Cat. Well, shoot, when was it that we're looking at it? It was just a terrible day for the. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago that it was Texas A&M, Colorado, Mizzou, Nebraska, all lost. That was the day that K-State beat Mizzou. That's right. So it was 2 weeks ago. We got the nice 0-4 there for those schools. Everybody trying to leave the Big 12, struggling this week. Everybody coming in, looking great. I'm all about that. I am all about that. So, Alpha Cat, thank you for pointing that out to me. That's great work from the Big 12 marketing machine. All right, we got the Pac-12 propaganda machine and the Big 12 marketing machine, which I feel like we're all collectively a part of here with the community that we've built up. So that's good work, Alpha Cat. Dylan writes, what up, Dylan? Dylan says, Dylan Gabriel is not Jalen Daniels either, John. Oh, not at all. I mean, I would definitely take Jalen Daniels before I would take Dylan Gabriel. Now, I assume that you're painting that and throwing that to me to say that winning in Norman, Oklahoma is not as difficult as beating Kansas in Manhattan this year. That I'm going to say I disagree with you on. But yes, I think K-State's defense will see a better quarterback in Jalen Daniels when they play that game against Kansas. I would not say they're going to see a better offense. It's the way Jalen Daniels is playing right now. I think there's a fairly significant gap between him and every other quarterback in the conference. But let's see it hold up over the course of 4 years. I mean, I'll say this, Dylan. I'll throw this right back at you. The Duke defense ain't the K-State defense. All right. The Houston defense ain't the Oklahoma defense, right? We could play this game all a bunch of different ways. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Kansas at all because Jalen Daniels is a stud. That guy's a player. He's not just a dude that uses his feet. That fade that he threw to the end zone off his back foot was an unbelievable throw on Saturday against Duke. So I'm taking nothing away from him, but he also has not seen great defense this year. So let's see what happens as you get through. I mean, Iowa State will be a really interesting test this week in Lawrence. That is a fascinating game. I say that a lot, I feel like, about Big 12 games here, but a fascinating game. Now the pace picks up here for Kansas. There will be some expectations now. You're no longer like this massive dog in Vegas. Everybody thinks you're legit. People are screaming for you to be ranked and screaming for you to be on College game day. And now you have to go play Iowa State, who's a program that's already had their turnaround and kind of been there, done that. Can Kansas hold up? It'll be very, very interesting. So, look, much respect, much love to your Jayhawks and Jalen Daniels in particular. I mean, he is what makes that go. He is the best part of that team. But let's again see what happens when the competition ramps up. I would say that. Robert, what's up, Robert? Robert says, if there's no Big 12 rep in the college football playoff and the Pac-12 gets in, what are the realignment ramifications, if any? Wreck 'em. Well, I would say I think it's kind of like, I'm going to use this as an analogy. People get very excited about, all right, my team beat this team. We're both going after a recruit. And this kid is interested in both schools. My school beat that school in the game, beat them by 20. Of course, this kid is going to come to us, right? Well, no, not exactly. There are a lot of other factors. It's like one game. is not ultimately going to make the difference there. It's the same thing here. I mean, look, like the Pac-12 has not been to the college football playoff since what it was the Washington team, right? In 2016, the last time the Pac-12 was in the playoff. It's been a long time. One year of that is not going to, I think, make a huge difference or a huge dent or anything like that. I mean, it's not. It certainly doesn't hurt. Like none of these things hurt, but that's not bringing USC back. That's not bringing all the value for that back. That's not dramatically changing a TV deal. We know where the playoff is going. It's going to allow access to the Pac-12 anyway and the Big 12. So you'll basically be having teams in there every single year as well. And it's only going to continue with this 14 playoff for another couple of years. So I don't think it would have a ton of impact. It would help. I mean, the Pac-12 needs all the help they can get. They need all the momentum that they can get, but I don't think it's truly significant. I don't. R Web. All right. Thank you, R Web, for giving me the perfect transition here. The perfect transition into the rest of the story on the Pac-12. And I know I've got 4 or 5 other donations. We'll finish up with that after this. Get them in right now, by the way. $sign below the chat box where it says say something. If you have a donation, you have a topic that you want to get in on the show, do it right now. Probably got about 10 minutes left here with you. But R Web, thank you, sir, says Georgie kicking climate change butt. So yeah, that was a part of the letter that George Kliavkoff wrote to the Board of Regents about UCLA and trying to say like, hey, you should block UCLA from going to the Pac-12, which John Wilner will tell you there is a non-zero chance that happens. So like that could actually happen, that they could block UCLA from going by using the Regents. But one of the justifications given from George Kliavkoff is, well, you're going to be chartering so much that's going to, pollute the air. It hurts climate change. Like, regardless of what you think about that topic, the fact that you're going to that, like that's a card that you're having to play, play at this point shows you the desperation level of Kliavkoff with this. And I saw Bob Thompson, who's been fairly generous to the Pac-12 throughout this discussion. He's the guy you remember on my channel. Interviewed him. He's the former head of Fox Sports. TV guy that's been involved in all these negotiations. He called out Kliavkoff. He was asked about it, like what else should he do? And he said, besides not letting it happen in the first place, how about working quietly behind the scenes with the Board of Regents, other politicos, etc., to easily accomplish the same results without looking quite so desperate? So Bob Thompson, a guy who's been in those rooms as a former head of Fox Sports, said that was a desperate looking move from Kliavkoff. That's not great. That's not great. And so it backs up what we were all saying and thinking when we saw that. But here's this. How about this from Ralph Russo? He makes this seem even worse, potentially, for Kliavkoff. Ralph Russo says, if UCLA was blocked, so if the Board of Regents did block UCLA from going to the Big Ten, the Pac-12 acting as an advocate for that move, it would cause the Big Ten to be motivated to blow up the whole conference, grab 4 more schools, including Cal, and by virtue, free up UCLA to leave a non-existent Pac-12. So, okay, follow me here. If the Board of Regents, with the urging of the Pac-12, says, nope, you can't go UCLA, then the Big Ten would turn around and say, all right, screw you. We're going to get the votes. We're going to go add Cal, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington, and then UCLA, because your conference won't exist anymore, and we'll take you all to the Big Ten, and your conference doesn't exist. Have fun with that, George. That's on the table here. And John Wilner, again, most plugged-in guy in Pac-12 circles, did at least feel that was justification enough for a response. And he said, this is what some believe the Regents are hoping for. So that's a theory out there right now in Pac-12 land, is that you have people thinking the Board of Regents are hoping that they will all vote to block UCLA because they think then the Big Ten would respond and just blow the whole conference up, invite 4 or 5 more teams, and then both UCLA and Cal can get in the Big Ten. So from the Regents' standpoint, they win. They win because they get both of their schools here from the California system in UCLA and Cal into the Big Ten. I mean, that's playing with fire. Wilner also went on to say he still thinks the most likely outcome is that would not happen. And he even said, I believe, like a 25% chance that the ruling would be that that UCLA would just have to pay some money every single year to Cal to help them out, give them like $10 million a year or something. So he doesn't even think that is the most likely outcome and going to happen. But it's certainly something to monitor. And it's crazy that's a non-zero chance. And Kliavkoff is still out here messing with that with these desperate desperate letters. I would not be doing that if I were him. I would not be doing that if I were him. All right, let's finish strong here with the donations that we have. I appreciate all of you guys. It has been active here tonight. A really fun chat. Zach says, how would you feel if BYU and Cincy were the two at-large bids to play in the next New Year's 6 Cotton Bowl? It seems possible and could be a good look for the Big 12. Oh, it'd be a hell of a look for the Big 12, man. Would love that. If you get two teams in a New Year's 6 Bowls, and especially if it's Cincinnati backing up a college football playoff appearance with a New Year's 6 appearance, 100% I would take that. I think the only thing about it where I'm like, it would be nice if both BYU and Cincy made New Year's 6 games and then got the chance to play somebody else, like a big brand from the SEC or the Big Ten, and be able to get that pub. That would be like the only downside. Playing each other, somebody would have to lose, but still a tremendous look. Yeah, hell yeah, man, a tremendous look. So I'll keep my eye on that, and I hope that comes to fruition. Again, BYU is going to have the schedule and some real juice behind that to build up there potentially to make it happen. And Cincinnati, with the only loss, if the only loss is to Arkansas this year, yeah, that could be in the cards too. That absolutely could be in the cards as well. What's up, Joe? Joe, thank you for the donation again, my friend. Joe says, hey, John, tell this Hawk Nation troll you don't answer trolls. Honestly, I haven't even noticed. I haven't even noticed in that, or I have not even noticed that person in here. So I guess that's how good of a job you're doing. You got to troll harder. You got to troll a little better because it's not working here. Didn't even get my attention. But Joe, thank you for looking out for me. Much appreciate that. And we've got some mods in here that I know. I actually had a chance to meet one of our mods, Joseph. Got to meet him. He came out to the live show to check out the 3Mod podcast in action and watch K-State OU at Tanner's in Manhattan. So shout out to him. Love that. Also love Robbie, always being in here doing work as a moderator. So look, if things get out of hand, I trust those guys to take care of it. But I also much appreciate you looking out for me, my friend. And yeah, I had not noticed. Had not noticed. Redbeard. What's up, Redbeard? Redbeard said, love the double feature yesterday. Excited to see my Red Raiders go 3 of 4 against the top 25 this Saturday. Good luck to your Cats after that. Hey, thank you, Redbeard. It'll be an interesting week, right? A lot of Tech fans here, a lot of K-State fans here, and I think there's a pretty healthy mutual respect between the two. I don't want to talk a bunch of this week to Tech fans. I like Tech fans. I like the direction of the program where Joey McGuire is going. Just like a lot of things that are happening at Texas Tech right now in general. So yeah, I don't really have much smack talk here. I really don't. And I know that this is a different Tech team. I know this is not a Tech team, for instance, that would cough up the lead that they had last year in Lubbock in that game, which was a crucial moment for last year's season. Looked like it was spiraling out of control, and who knows where the climate era is at right now if the season really did start to go down. So that was a huge turning point in the season and potentially the climate era for K-State last year. But this team is tougher than that, man. This is not a Matt Wells team. This is a Joey McGuire team. It's a different deal. And Donovan Smith makes plays. So another thing, I was having a chat with somebody else who covered the team across the conference that looks at a lot of film. And I just asked, hey, what do you think of Tech? And basically said, well, the concern I would have if I were a Tech fan is my offensive line holding up against K-State's defensive line, which that is the strength of the team for K-State. We said Donovan Smith is the real deal. That dude's going to make some plays. And that much I knew. I've seen enough of that kid. I love that kid. Or shout out to my guys, the Gambling Gauchos. Dogovan Smith. He's got that dog in him. So I like it. Just hopefully not enough this week to get a win, but we'll see. MJ Allen 77. Appreciate the donation. MJ Allen says, congrats for the K-State win. Told you I was pulling for him. I gave you a hard time last week, but I'll give you props this week. Hey, thank you, MJ Allen. Thank you. You know what? Deserved. K-State lost to Tulane last week. You deserve to take some shots there. That was an awful loss, a brutal loss, made worse again by the fact that Tulane lost at home to Southern Miss this Saturday. But that's the beauty of college football. You turn around and go win in Norman and put together a virtuoso performance from Adrian Martinez at quarterback in that game. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. I'm riding that high. Probably going to go try and rewatch the game before I go to bed tonight, honestly, just to soak it in a little bit more. So definitely looking forward to that. Let's see. Travis. What's up, Travis? Travis says, would you be happier Kleiman keeps low profile and not have a coach leaving or have the cloud hype with Campbell. Both equally good coaches. Rather be unknown. Go Clones. Okay, interesting theory there, Travis. And this does give me a chance. I mean, look, your whole, I don't know if you're on Twitter, Travis, but your whole fan base is real mad at me again. Seems to always happen anytime Matt Campbell gets brought up. But I simply pointed out, and let me just, for Iowa State fans, this was the point I was making when I said Matt Campbell built a reputation off of one win over Oklahoma, and Chris Kleiman's now done it 3 of 4 years. When I say that, I don't mean that the entire reputation of Matt Campbell is because of one win back in 2017. But what really put him on the map of everybody thinking that he was this coaching virtuoso and was the next new Rockne was when he went into Norman and won. Well, Kleiman's now done that twice. He did it with a 4-win team, in fact. He's done it twice, and he's won 3 of 4 against Oklahoma, and yet is not thought of in nearly the same regard. I understand that Matt Campbell has won 2 of the 3 matchups. I understand that Matt Campbell in the COVID year, which, again, I think needs to be taken with a grain of salt, see what Texas A&M did there and what they've done every other year under Jimbo, but they did go to the conference championship game that year. I understand there have been higher highs under Campbell than what K-State's had under Kleiman, but Kleiman has a higher winning percentage as a coach at K-State than Campbell has at Iowa State. They're really pretty similar resume-wise, and yet the national media attention has always been there for Campbell, and I think in large part you trace it all back to that game in Norman when he goes into Norman and wins. And that was really what put Iowa State's comeback and turnaround on the map, where people started paying attention. And from then on, I think it's just taken this life on of its own, where I think another part of it is Campbell's agent has always been good about getting his name mentioned with jobs, getting a lot of good publicity out there. And it's led to this aura around Campbell that makes him, I think, better in the eyes of most people nationally than he actually is. And that is the point that I was making there. I understand it's Twitter, so, people are going to get butthurt about things and upset and fight back and forth and whatever. And I do it too. Like, we all do it. So that's basically what's happened there. But what would I rather have at the end of the day? I mean, I just want the better coach. Honestly, I tend to just always think, like, if you've got the better coach, even if he leaves, is going to leave your program in a better place. By the time the guy's done, you'd be better for him having been there. And I just don't. Kleiman, you're right. Kleiman is kind of in this spot where he's been pretty good and pretty solid, but also has not hit that inflection point that Matt Campbell did, where there's a lot of people knocking down his door. So it is a sweet spot, but I would rather, I would rather him go to the Big 12 championship game this year and then have a bunch of shine on him. I would rather have him win a Big 12 title this year and have people beating down the door, because I want a Big 12 title. I'd rather have that than him continue to go 8-5 every single year. So I guess that's like a long, convoluted answer to your question, but I hope that did enough for you there, Travis. Appreciate the donation, man. Okay. Let's see if we can get through these. What's up, Joe? Joe says, last game of the year, ESPN or Fox, game day. What do you think, John? Yeah, K-State KU. I assume that's a K-State KU reference, getting game day. What if we had that, man? College game day makes its return to Manhattan, where it's been a couple of times, but it's not been since 2000. We got them there in 98 and 2000. Last time K-State was on, I think, 2003 Big 12 championship game. And then before that, 2003 at Texas. I believe that was the last time K-State's had game day. Would love it. Would love it, man. State of Kansas looking pretty hot right now. State of Kansas looking pretty hot. Don't look now. Don't look now, guys. Definitely here for it. Get it on Big Boy ESPN. Well, ABC. How about ABC? We'll get it like evening ABC kickoff, college game day in the house for the Sunflower Showdown. Let's do it. Glenn, what's up, Glenn? Glenn says, any more news on Aranda possibly going to Nebraska? Go BYU. Well, I know, Glenn, that seems to be at least a fairly popular Nebraska fan pick. I don't think that would happen at all. Dave Aranda, if he wants to make the jump to one of the bigger conferences, he'll be able to get an SEC job because of his SEC connections. I don't really see any reason why Aranda would do that. And there was the report last week from Bruce Feldman that the top 3 candidates were Leipold, Campbell, and Bill O'Brien. Actually, the former Texas head coach, former Penn State head coach, is now at Bama. So I have not seen a lot of legitimate movement for that. R Web, what's up, R Web? R Web says, I got your hooray reference in your Twitter DM. I'm not. I'm gonna have to go check my Twitter DMs. Our web. I'm sorry. I'm a little lost there. Oh, I do see. You gotta. Oh, hooray for Ames Water. Okay, got it. Thank you, our web. Okay, I got it. I'll check out the hooray for Ames Water video as soon as I'm done here. Love it. Thank you. Sometimes a little slow. I've been talking for a while here. I got to it. What's up, Mike? Mike P. Thank you for the donation, Mike. Mike says, "Can my Horns get off the hook for losing to Kansas now?" Turns out they can kind of play 12-2. Hook them. Yes, I do think you're off the hook for losing to Kansas. For last year, anyway. I don't think that excuses the Charlie Strong loss to Kansas, which that was David Beatty, right? I think Beatty got strong. Doesn't excuse that, but it does a little bit excuse last year. And say West Virginia, I thought one of the best tweets over the weekend. I think it was the Smoking Musket on Twitter, which is a good Twitter follow. Said, "Tired, West Virginia lost to Kansas. Wired, West Virginia almost beat Kansas." I was like, that's good tweeting. That's good use of a meme and good tweeting right there. And there is truth to it. There is obviously truth to it. So I will grant you a little bit of leniency with that. Yes, I will. Alpha Cat, thank you for the donation, Alpha Cat. Alpha Cat says, "I have not seen it pointed out that the Iowa wrestling team and the Minnesota hockey team will not be traveling to non-existent teams in LA. Men's volleyball teams from USC and UCLA will not be heading east." Yeah, so there is there is probably a little bit of that where I just think some of that gets overplayed in general. Like Kliavkoff is really trying to hammer home like the travel cost thing, and they're ballparking it at like $10 million. And someone brought in the West Virginia figure the other day was more like what 5, 6, or 7, something like that. So everybody seems to be exaggerating that because I think it works very well with the narratives that a lot of people would like to push right now, that it's going to be just crazy and you're going to have all of this going on. Whereas I think it probably won't be quite as bad as people are really making it out to be. And you're right. There are going to be some teams that, won't jive there. Some teams that are staying back in the Pac-12. I know I saw that was, one of the things that I saw. You're saying men's volleyball. I was thinking there was even another sport or two perhaps that weren't going to be traveling. Some of it just because the league doesn't offer it. But yes, valid point, and all this realignment stuff. I think sometimes people go a little bit overboard with that as a narrative. Okay, I'm all talked out. I had a lot to say, but I think I'm all talked out. It's going to do it for the show here today. Hit me up on Twitter if you have something at JL Kurtz. Try to be pretty responsive in the DMs. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you'd like to support the channel that way as well. Always appreciate you guys that do. If you did not catch the show live here tonight. And tell your friends, spread the word on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social media, whatever. If you have fan groups that you're a part of where people would be interested in this channel, Big 12 fans of their school, whatever, please let them know. Let's continue and grow this channel. Getting very close to 15K people, almost at 15,000 subscribers here on the channel. So have a great, weekend. Have a great start to your week. And I will talk to you guys soon.